Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help you ignite the CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 or 20 minutes. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and earn annual recurring six-figure revenues. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping CEOs and entrepreneurs excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of support and accountability and challenge. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I am super excited about our show today. We have Dr. Debra Clary. She's a leadership strategist for the Clary Group in Prospect, Kentucky. Deb, you've had an amazing career. You've worked with superhuman leaders, and you've worked with some that were less so. If you were to just dial it down and pick out one trait or two traits that separate really excellent leaders from the not so great, what would that be?
Yeah, so this is based on 4 decades of experience with Frito-Lay, Coca-Cola, Jack Daniels, and to me, it comes down to curiosity.
Mm, I love that. Tell me more. Why?
In the sense that, leaders that are open and create an environment where people can ask questions, they can challenge the status quo. It helps you feel a part of the impact that you're trying to make with the organization.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this goes both ways, right? Like, I think the leader herself needs to be curious, but then also has to create an environment that curiosity is rewarded. So, when you go to work with somebody and curiosity comes out, how do you get them to have that self awareness that curiosity needs to take hold in that person first?
Yeah. So, what I like to say is that in order to create a culture of curiosity, you have to first be in its presence. So, we know that culture and leadership is synonymous. And so goes the leader, so goes the culture. And
Hmm.
so, if a leader is really interested in increasing impact and contribution, they start with creating a culture of curiosity. And I bet I know your next question. Well, what does that look like?
Uh
Right.
huh. Of course.
And it's the best leaders are those that create a space where people feel comfortable to ask a question or even challenge the status quo, and that they welcome those type of thorny or different types of questions because they know that it could lead to a better outcome.
Hmm. It's I think we try to make leadership harder than it is, right? Certainly it's not easy, but I think we overthink it and expect ourselves to know everything, when in reality you're better off if you open that up, which is your curiosity principle. Open it up to other people and ask questions, especially those who are on the front line of what you're trying to solve.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We are raised to believe that to be a good leader, you have to have all the answers. And it's just the opposite. The best leaders I know and that I've had the privilege to work with are the ones that have the best questions.
Hmm. You know, my aunt was a gifted and talented teacher in middle school, I think. And when my first son was born, she said, my only son, when our first kid was born, he was a son, was born, she said, "Look, Mark, life is about experiences. And, the more that you can have your kids experience things, the deeper they're going to be, the more interesting they're going to be, all that kind of stuff." And I think that ties pretty readily with the curiosity principle, right? The more that you experience, the more places you visit, the more people you interact with, you're going to become more well-rounded and get exposure to things that you've never thought of before, which then opens up more opportunities for everybody.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of travel. When you leave this country and you go around the world, it just changes your perspective. In January, I had the opportunity to speak in Saudi Arabia, and then I went to the UAE, and it just completely changed my understanding of the world. It was so extraordinary, and the people were so gracious. I mean, I came back with a different point of view.
Yeah. So how again, I think so much of this is learned or has the ability to be learned. How do you go about that? Like when you're sitting down and you're starting to talk with these professionals that you're working with, what are some of those first challenges that you're putting out to them, or exercises that you're pushing them to complete and to start to develop that curiosity mindset if they don't have it, or expand it,
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So I first began with helping them understand that curiosity is a strategic advantage. And so we did some primary research that demonstrated that there is a direct correlation between a leader's level of curiosity and the team's performance, right? So I show them the data. I'm a scientist. I got you got to show me.
Uh-huh.
And so once I began to share with them the data, and they realize, well, curiosity isn't a soft skill or one day. It's like, oh no, today is the day that we need to create this culture of curiosity. And then the other thing we do is we have a curiosity assessment. So
Mm.
we can measure an individual, a team, and an organization's level of curiosity. And we know that curiosity can be learned. Curiosity is contagious. So if we know our starting point when we do the assessment, then we start working on how do we shift the organization to be more curious.
Wow, I love that. That's the first I've heard of the ability to measure curiosity. That I can't wait to
Yes.
dig into that more.
Yes. Yes.
What are
Be-
Go ahead. Sorry.
So what I say is that, when I had this hypothesis that curiosity was the missing piece in organizations after spending many decades inside of it. And when the data came back that the hypothesis was indeed correct, I mean, I was like, this is amazing. I was just like, and I took it to a couple of big consulting firms, and they're like, well, that's lovely, but how are you going to measure it? And I went, oh, good question. Right. And so we went back with the same group of researchers. We did more, digging into it, and then we came up with this assessment. And the reason that it's so important is because curiosity can be learned, curiosity can be improved.
What do you see as the biggest why is that not natural? Why I guess is going to be my first question. So
Mhm.
why is curiosity within an organization not the fallback, the standard?
So the first thing I say is it's not your fault. We are taught to be incurious. There was a group of neuroscientists out of London that wanted to study childhood development, the brain development. And what they discovered was that children asked 298 questions a day. And
Okay.
you're probably thinking, Mark, well, they don't even talk, they're toddlers. If they were pointing, that was a question.
Yeah.
And so then what happens to your question? Well, you think about it. We go to school and we're taught to sit in our chairs, raise our hands, children to be seen and not heard, don't open Pandora's box, curiosity killed the cat, on and on, right? And
Uh-huh.
so then we go to university, we get a specialty, we're an accountant and or a medical doctor, and we've got this expertise, and we're rewarded and paid to execute on that expertise. And oh, by the way, we have time constraints. So by the time that we're in leadership roles, we have thought we know it all. And when somebody asks me a question, I'm just going to give you the answer because that's what I'm paid to do. So we've
Mhm.
conditioned people, at least in North America, to be incurious.
Wow. That makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, because we put, and not that they shouldn't be, but we put teachers on the pedestal up front, right? Because they know everything, and so it's all information is coming toward you, not you seeking it out.
Yes. And my daughter's a teacher. So she always reminds me, Mom, we can't have mayhem in the classroom. And I said, absolutely. But I wonder, could there be more of a balance?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, so then. continue to talk about like the effects of AI, which almost seems, I mean, there's a touch of curiosity to at least ask the right prompts, but at the same time, you're just now getting information that's being spewed back out to you. So what effects are you seeing with artificial intelligence on curiosity?
Yeah, and it might be too early to tell, but my point of view is that, AI is rooted in questions, and questions are rooted in curiosity. And
Hmm.
so the sense of, I feel like I'm being more curious when I'm digging for information. And so for me, I would say keep going. But again, I'm going to reserve to see what happens in the next couple of years if my curiosity actually declines. I'm measuring it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That will be fascinating because you're right. I mean, on the surface level, it is rooted in curiosity, right? I have to ask the right prompt. I have to dig a little bit deeper. I've got to, whatever, to figure out what I want to be. So at a minimum, there's some thought that's going into it. It's not just rote, type in and ask whatever.
Yes, and
Feed me.
and what I find is sometimes it's incorrect, and I'll go back and say, "This is not correct," or, "I think you need to go deeper because this isn't making the connection for me." Now, I have many years of experience on this earth, so I have this experience that you had talked about that gives me that edge. I wonder, what about those that are in their 20s and 30s that don't have that kind of experience to say to AI, "You're not correct."
Hmm. Yeah, and they just take the answer and go. Or
Yeah,
first,
you gotta interrogate the data.
yeah. When d- when you present the curiosity factors and how to measure it and what the results can be if you develop a more curious organization and more curious culture, what type of roadblocks or hesitancies do pop up when people are presented with that information? Why do they say, maybe not yet?
Yeah, because they don't understand the relationship to performance. And secondly, it's this mindset of, I don't have time to ask questions. And when we do that as leaders, we're playing the short game. So if someone comes into your office, they put the problem on the table, and you're both looking at the problem, and the leader says, go do this. Right? That's a short game. Now that was really um, efficient. But
Yeah.
as leaders, our main goal is developing people to think for their own, developing people that they have the confidence to go solve problems. That's playing the long game. So we got the short game and the long game, and building the confidence of those that we lead to know they can do this.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I've said for a long time and believe in is, the role of the CEO or owner or leader is to clear obstacles. And then secondarily, it's to grow uh, your teammates to whatever level they can grow to. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. When I think about the best leaders I've ever worked for, it's those that asked me questions that allowed me to go figure it out on my own. I always knew they were there for me. And if things weren't quite working out, I knew I could go back, but I felt like they believed in me that I could
Hmm.
actually solve the problem.
Well, and you had mentioned micromanaging earlier, but I think having that culture of empowerment, right, where a leader says, "Hey, Deb, go figure this out," and then doesn't hover over you. And even though you may go about it differently than I would, who cares, right? As long as we're moving and we're being progressive, I'm going to learn something because maybe whatever methodology I was going to use is outdated or less efficient or whatever. And all of a sudden you come up and go, no, here, I did this and I got you the solution to the problem that you were seeking. I did it in a shorter time frame in whatever. Or even if it takes longer, you still grow as my teammate because you were given that ability to be empowered to go seek out and find it, figure it out however you think best.
Absolutely. And the second part of that story is if they go and do it and it doesn't work out, is how you respond to that.
Hmm.
You respond favorably. All right. What
Yeah.
did you learn from it? How do we go about correcting it now? You keep it, pouring into them that together we can make good decisions and together we can grow the organization.
Yeah. That's awesome. This is great. I'm having a blast. Like I said, we try to keep these into to like 15, 20-minute nuggets. I think you and I could talk for hours. But if you started to think back to when you first started your career on the Frito-Lay truck,
Yes.
um, what is something that you would share with that Deb that you've learned over these years?
So, you know, that experience, and I remember I came right out of business school and became a Teamster.
Uh-huh.
And I remember in the interview, I thought I was interviewing for a manager role, but little did I know they were giving me a uniform and a Teamster card. But once they told me what the role was, I asked one question, are there other women doing this? Because
Uh,
in my mind, if other women were doing this, like in terms of physically being able to do it, I could do it as well. And I think that served me really well throughout my career. If other people are doing this or that, I can learn how to do it as well.
I like that. So being, it- well, it all that ties back to that experience is everything model, right? Like
Yes.
if you can see it and you can feel it, you can do it, right? If you can't see it, it's going to be hard to have that experience that you can build on your own.
Yes, absolutely. Now, it doesn't mean that there haven't been times when nobody else was doing it, but I had the confidence to go do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's not always looking to your left or right to see if others are doing it, but this sense of now that I've built this confidence and these skills, what would I do that nobody else is doing?
Hmm.
That type of thing is having the faith that you can step out there and really blaze new trails.
I love it. I love it. Deb, this has been amazing. How do people get in touch with you and what how can they work with you and how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. You can go to my website, which is debraclary.com, DebraClary.com. And on there, one, you can take the curiosity curve assessment. So you can do a free assessment and find out where your level of curiosity is. And also, there's my email and a phone number. If you'd like to connect and chat about your level of curiosity or what do you want to do differently, I'm open to that.
Awesome. Man, I told you I was looking forward to this conversation and you did not disappoint. Well, I had
Thank
a
you.
blast. Thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Y'all, we did it again. We had another great conversation with another great leader. Hope you picked up a bunch of nuggets there that you can use. Wanted to remind you that all Igniting the CEO Within podcast episodes are sponsored by Quade, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quade's created Launchpad, which provides an opportunity for executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and earn annual recurring six-figure revenues while putting in only about 60 hours per year per circle. To find out more, visit quadecircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting the CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.